Asia's luxury travel scene once felt unstoppable, but in 2026 Western tourists are arriving to find a region quietly shifting beneath the surface. What they see looks familiar, yet what they feel is unmistakably different. Five-star hotels still shine with marble floors and panoramic pools, but guests describe an energy that feels softer, quieter, and strangely distant. The visuals remain perfect, but the emotional pulse that defined Asia's golden era seems harder to grasp. Across Bangkok, Tokyo, Bali, Singapore, and Seoul, travelers find that the luxury experience is no longer driven by connection but by obligation. The warmth that once set Asian hospitality apart feels replaced by efficiency, structure, and a new professional distance. Western travelers say it's the first time they've noticed luxury that looks richer than ever yet feels thinner than before. They walk into lobbies with breathtaking design, only to feel something missing the moment they check in. Part of the shift comes from staffing shortages that never fully recovered. Many hotels operate at full visual capacity but half their emotional bandwidth. Guests say interactions feel polite, but the intuitive magic, the sense that staff could read your needs before you spoke, feels less present. Luxury remains excellent, but it no longer feels effortless. At the same time, rising costs across Asia have reshaped traveler expectations. When room rates climb, Western visitors expect an emotional experience that matches the price. But in 2026, the price rises faster than the feeling of luxury. This mismatch creates quiet disappointment, not enough to ruin a trip, but enough to notice. In Bangkok, travelers still find great value, yet the spirit of spontaneous hospitality feels more controlled and chaotic. The city's rhythm is evolving, shifting from emotional warmth to polished structure. Singapore delivers perfection, but travelers say the experience feels more transactional than welcoming. Everything works flawlessly, yet the human touch feels faint. In Bali, visitors discover romantic resorts and iconic landscapes, but many describe a sense of emotional fatigue under the island's surface. The energy that once made Bali unforgettable now flickers rather than radiates. Tokyo remains mesmerizing, but the surge in tourism pushes the city toward efficiency over intimacy. Travelers feel more like passengers moving through a system than guests being embraced by a culture. Seoul continues to rise as a global hotspot, yet its nightlife, cafes, and markets feel increasingly curated for social media rather than lived in by locals. The result is beauty without depth. These changes don't signal collapse, they signal recalibration. Asia is rewriting what luxury means, shifting away from service built on emotional sacrifice and toward service built on structure. For decades, Western travelers benefited from a hospitality culture that demanded perfection from its workers. Now that younger generations reject those expectations, the region is entering a more balanced era. Luxury becomes more sustainable, but also less emotionally intense. Travelers expecting the magic of the past mistake this evolution for decline. Climate patterns add to the feeling. Unpredictable storms, harsher heat, and seasonal instability create atmospheres that feel heavier and less idyllic. Even when the sun shines, tourists sense subtle tension in the air, a reminder that paradise is adapting to forces beyond anyone's control. These climatic shifts reshape how cities and islands feel long before they reshape how they look. Another factor is the new global traveler mindset. Western tourists in 2026 arrive carrying more stress, more expectations, and more pressure to have the perfect trip. When an experience feels merely good instead of life-changing, they interpret the difference as decline. But much of the change comes from within the traveler, not the destination. Luxury itself has changed direction. Instead of service-driven emotional expression, Asia is leaning into design-driven excellence, architecture, technology, aesthetics, and curated calm. Travelers visiting after years away struggle to adjust to this new definition of luxury. They expect warmth and receive elegance, they expect spontaneity and receive structure. The disconnect between expectation and reality is where the feeling of decline quietly emerges. The region hasn't lost its magic, it has changed the way it communicates it. Asia's luxury travel is more introspective now, less dramatic, more refined. It asks travelers to notice subtlety instead of spectacle. Western tourists who slow down and understand the shift discover a deeper, more grounded form of luxury. Those who cling to the past feel like something essential slipped away. Asia hasn't stopped evolving, it has simply stopped evolving in the direction travelers assumed it would. The emotional shift is real, but it carries opportunity. It invites visitors to engage with Asia not as a fantasy playground but as a living, breathing part of a world in transition. Luxury doesn't disappear when it becomes calmer, it transforms. And in that transformation, travelers willing to adapt discover a new kind of experience, less explosive, more meaningful. Asia is still magical, but in 2026 it whispers where it once shouted. Western travelers who listen closely find something richer than nostalgia. They find a region revealing its new identity one quiet moment at a time.